Hello everyone, I am back. It is, for me, Sunday, for you, Monday, and I have a couple of things. I haven't really concentrated on making a whole lot of different things because, you know, this dragon pattern is driving me nuts. But I did actually make a few other things. And both of these are all from Jade Patterns. And I have been like seriously debating, do I want to make a spider or not? Because spiders, I mean, honestly, spiders just creep me out. But I've had it sitting in my cart for the longest of times. And she ran a sale for 40% off. And I said, okay, for that, I'll do it. And then if I don't like it, I don't have to make any more. But I got her Sabrina the Spider pattern. And I gave it a try. And it actually, I think it turned out pretty good. I was curious how she was able to get the legs to do that and actually feel like they have some substance to them. So after getting the pattern, it's like, get to learn something else new. My only problem with this spider, and it's not her fault, is I didn't have the right eyes. Like, my eyes don't match. The big ones are gold glitter, and those smaller ones, which I really do like, it's not a glitter disc, it's like part of the eye. So they don't exactly match up. But I had to try the pattern. But I have some eyes on order that I ordered from AliExpress using Heather Cottontail Crafts, her source for eyes. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take to get here, but I hope they get here pretty soon, because my last few orders that I've gotten off of Amazon, a lot of them had bubbles in the plastic. They get, where you can see where, like, when they've had the eye and the mold, they were together and they're snapping them. It'd have this big chunk on the edge. You got to take a nail file and try and smooth it down, but it makes it like white instead of clear. So they haven't been a very good quality lately. Now, regular old black, normal safety eyes, Amazon all the way. But for these that are supposed to be nicer, yeah, they haven't been too hot lately from Amazon. But this little spider was made with Parfait Chunky, mustard, and chocolate. And, of course, unmatching eyes. But I thought it was pretty cool because these legs actually have some substance to them. And it is no-sew. And you wouldn't think no-sew when you have 8 little legs that are made separately. But the way they are attached, it is definitely no-sew. So this one, I would say, is when the good eyes get here, it's definitely makes some more. My only question would be, would you stick to colors that you would normally maybe see a spider in, or would you just like do pink spiders and blue spiders and purple spiders and green spiders and whatever other color spiders that you can come up with? Or would you try to make it look more realistic, like doing it black with the red spot on it to look like a black widow, or brown for a brown recluse, or I guess you could do some yellow, call it a banana spider. I don't know. But every time I do one of her patterns, I learn something new. Then the next one that I made was, again, all from Jade. And again, I have had this pattern in my cart for a while. And I have seen Heather show so many of these. And I kept, like, trying to convince myself I need to do it. I need to just bite the bullet and do it. But with 40% off, I did. And this is one of her interesting ones where you get the mom and the dad, and you can make the mom have the baby's stuff up inside it and all that. But I got her whale pattern. And as soon as I get this black yarn in, I'm going to do the orca version, because that's the one that I really like that Heather shows all the time. So again, the eyes do not do this poor thing justice. You can't see. Well, like that you can. So these have green eyes. And fortunately, I had the right size, the 28 millimeter. And I chose to do the twisted tail. And I'm not real sure about that. Like, I think maybe I will do on my next one the straight tail and see which way I like better. So, I'm trying to think, did I learn anything new on this one? Probably not, because this would be considered the daddy whale. It doesn't have the opening in the bottom to stuff the little minis in. Yeah, I don't think I really learned anything new on this one. But it is a fairly quick and easy pattern, and it is no-sew, and it looks like a whale. I mean, other than it being purple. But my last few markets, I've noticed anything that I've made that's been purple has been a seller. So my last yarn order that came in, I got some purple, so I've been trying to do some things in purple. So those two are like the only new things I did. But back to that dragon pattern. I was going to wait and talk about this in a separate video, but I can always revisit it in the next time I talk about these. So I tried doing yarn over instead of yarn under, and it was still all over the place. So it's not my yarn under technique. It was in the chat, in the comments. It was heavily suggested that possibly the decrease technique might be the issue. The pattern doesn't say 2 single crochets together. It doesn't say invisible decrease. It just says decrease. So you're kind of on your own to figure that out. But most patterns use invisible decrease. So that's what I used. Well, someone, Patty, I think her name is, she asked Crochet by Jenna how she does her decreases, and she was told invisible decrease. But if you go and watch her bee tutorial, right about the 2150 timestamp mark, you'll see how she does her decreases. The way I learned an invisible decrease is totally different from what she is calling an invisible decrease. What she is doing is she goes into the front loop of the first stitch, pulls her yarn through, into the front loop of the next stitch, pulls her yarn through again, and then yarns over and pulls through all 3 of those loops. To me, that is 2 single crochets together in the front loop. What I learned as an invisible decrease is you go under the first loop, then you reach over and go under the second loop, then you pull your yarn through, and then you yarn over and go through the 2 loops. So now I'm going to have to try and do it. It's going to be my last attempt. I'm going to have to try and do it where it's 2 single crochets together in the front loop only. And that's going to be my last try. And I'm going to give up and just do what I feel like. So what I did is I tried doing yarn over. And that was hard for me. It was like I really had to think about what I was doing. So I did the face like you normally would with the bobbles, but I did not. The legs didn't line up. I had to line them up on my own. I did not put any of the bobbles anywhere else. I just decided to do a first strip up the back, and I used different wings. Now I placed them where she said to, the round where she says to crochet in the wings. Now, it's too low. I put the top of the wing on that round, where if I would have put the bottom of the wing on that round, I think it would have turned out better. But I am liking these wings way better. The first line, stripe, strip, whatever you want to call it, made things much easier. Because like I said, pretty much the face lines up on its own. I think that the only spot is I have to be careful where I start my half double crochet increases on the head. Otherwise, it would be twisted a little bit. So pay attention to everything else lines up okay for me on the head. The rest of the body, not so much. So worst case scenario, this will be how I end up doing these little dragons and not having to deal with those bobble stitches. Now, some other people suggested doing a surface bobble stitch, which I've never seen that done before, and I would like to see it and then test it out a little bit before I tried to attach it to something that I wanted to have be like a keeper or for sale. So I did another one, but this is just the body. I did not make the legs or wings or anything for it. And what I did is I used a stitch marker or scrap yarn to mark all the spots where the pattern says that a bobble stitch goes or a wing goes or a leg or anything like that. So if you look at the head straight on, okay, this is where I was saying I would have to adjust those half double crochet increases because it would be off center. But that was the only issue that I found on the head part. Everything else lined up okay. Now when you get to the bobble stitches and the legs, then keep in mind that when you do a bobble stitch, okay, you're working on it this direction because the head is facing you. It's going to lean to the left. So when I turn this around, just think the bobble stitch is going to lean to the right a little bit. It always like shifts just a little bit because when you go into that next single crochet. So here would be the first bobble stitch. Now I did not make any adjustments. I'm trying to hold the head straight. Okay, first bobble stitch is here. Second bobble stitch. Then you're going to add your legs. So there'd be one leg right here and one up here. Okay, trying to keep the head straight. And the bobble stitch is way over here. The next time is going to be the wings. Hold the head straight. The wings and a bobble. So the first wing is going to be almost on top of the body, then the bobble and the other wing. And as you can see, these others just kind of keep trailing off to the side. But that is doing it how I learned to do an invisible decrease. So I'm going to do one more, trying to do the decreases the way she does them and see what happens with that. So I really want this pattern to work for me. If all else fails, I'll be doing them this way. And at least I have the body shape to go with it. So it's time to let the cat out of the bag. What did I do for a pattern test that I've been waiting for release day. What was it? All right, you guys, this is the baby version of this dragon. This thing is amazing. Other than the fact that my yarn really sucked when I was making this and it was fighting me as I was fighting it, a yarn that fights back. This was so easy and so much quicker to do than the bigger version. I liked the way you get choices, three choices for the tip of the tail. There's a few choices on the spikes. And believe it or not, this version was way easier than making the, 4 and then increases and making like the little cone to try and sew on. These were way easier to sew on. And I did the little horns, and these are like the perfect size. This big guy, see the difference in the horns? His are huge, and these are like, I don't know, I just think they're the perfect size. Let me set him down. Of course, you sew on the tail, the arms, the legs, the ears you have to sew on. You have to sew on the spikes and the horns, but it was so much easier. Maybe because this was my second go round with her pattern and it's very similar to the other one, kind of. But I was used to, like, I had an opportunity to work with one of her patterns before, so I knew what to expect in a pattern. So this is one of 3 styles of wings, I believe. And there's 3 different heads to choose from. Different heads, different spikes, different horns, different wings. I mean, it's like being on an action adventure. But just look at this thing. It is so cute. And it is mustard, chocolate, and cream. So, somebody said it looked like a s'mores dinosaur. I was thinking sunflower because I liked how my sunflower cow looked, but in the reverse of colors. Like the main color on the cow was cream. This one is mustard. So I'll give you a little bit on the s'more. But this pattern is just amazing. And when you're watching this, the 15th, that is release day, and I will link her pattern in the description down below. And yeah, this one I had fun making. And it's nice to be able to sit there and be a tester for someone and help them work out any kinks that may or may not be there. Sometimes there isn't, and sometimes there is, you know, and sometimes you might just totally not catch it, and other times it'll be like, is that right? Is that right? But yeah, it's fun being part of a tester group. As long as they're not super active, like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, because we're all from somewhere else. So some of those tester groups are very active at very odd times of the day. But yes, here is the cat that was just let out of the bag. I am very proud of this dragon. And because it's a little smaller, it takes like a skein less yarn than the larger version. And it doesn't take as much time. It is possibly something that you could use as a higher end item at your market. So that's all I have to share with you today. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot this week because that one pattern's been driving me crazy. And I've been working on something else too, which is a secret. And I'm not telling anybody yet. So now I'm going to say I will see you later. I am going to go play with my hook and my yarn and see what I can kind of yarn trouble I can get into. All right, I will see you guys in the next video.